This story is about Lloyd, an orphan who hits the jackpot when he's adopted by Merlin, the strongest S-rank wizard around, and he decides to become an adventurer. But his new party kicks him out almost immediately because they think he's just a worthless support mage. What they don't know is that Lloyd is secretly the chosen hero, destined to take down the Demon King, a fact only his teacher knows. It all started when Lloyd was a kid, and the Demon King's army wiped out his entire hometown. He was the only survivor, and Merlin, a powerful S-rank adventurer, found him in the rubble. Merlin had also lost someone important in that same battle, so she decides to adopt Lloyd as a way to cope, taking him on as her one and only disciple. She takes him home and immediately gets to training. She makes a fireball and tells the shocked kid that if he can't do the same by dinner, he doesn't eat. Lloyd tries his best and finally manages to create a tiny flame, running to show her. Merlin sarcastically congratulates him before snuffing out his fire and then roasting him with her own, telling him he's got a long way to go. She then shows him how to pull water from the ground, which Lloyd nails on the first try, but instead of praise, Merlin just drowns him in a massive water spell, saying that's how it's done. As the days go by, Lloyd learns all kinds of magic, but Merlin is never ever satisfied. He even makes a perfect ice sculpture of her, but she just uses it to teach him a lesson. She takes control of the statue, grabs Lloyd and makes it huge, telling him he lacks skill before smashing it and letting him fall. Being a naive kid, Lloyd completely believes her and just promises to try harder. One time, Merlin has a nasty hangover and Lloyd uses magic to heal her. For a second, she's grateful and gives him a hug, but then immediately drags him outside to practice more magic. Time passes, and one night, Lloyd finds Merlin looking at an ancient book with a pained expression. He comes to get her for dinner, and she accidentally drops the book. Lloyd picks it up, but the moment he touches it, all the ancient magic inside gets uploaded directly into his brain, and he passes out. Merlin completely freaks out, because learning a spell just by touching a book means Lloyd has the qualities of the chosen one. This brings back traumatic memories for her. She doesn't want Lloyd to make the same mistakes she did, so that night, while he's asleep, she kisses him on the forehead, placing a magic spell to seal away that ancient knowledge. She does this to make sure he doesn't go down a dangerous path or trust his own power too much. To push him further away from danger, she recommends he become a white mage, whose only job is to support other adventurers. She teaches him basic recovery magic by making fruit grow, and then shows him the massive gap in their power by casually reviving a totally dead tree. From then on, she keeps teaching him, but anytime ancient magic comes up, she lies and says it's extinct, and he doesn't need to learn it. More time passes, and one day, Merlin decides on a new, brutal training method. She blindfolds Lloyd, takes him deep into a forest full of dangerous monsters, gives him a single knife, and tells him to get home in a week, using only his magic. Before he can even protest, she vanishes, leaving him scared and confused. Almost immediately, a wolf monster attacks, and Lloyd barely escapes by climbing a tree. He quickly realizes his white mage support spells are useless for fighting, so his only option is to sneak home while avoiding all the danger. He uses his magic senses to find the direction of his house and starts walking. He survives by using magic to ripen fruits for food and spends his nights inventing new spells to stay safe. He continues his dangerous journey, experimenting with spells to find food and run faster. The next day, a giant spider monster nearly eats him, but he escapes, thanks to his new speed-enhancing spell. He runs all the way home and immediately collapses from exhaustion right on the doorstep. Time skips forward, and Lloyd grows into a teenager. He finds a magazine about the nearby city and gets curious about the outside world. Merlin's attitude has changed too. Instead of dragging him out for basic practice, she now pulls him out of his chores at all hours to help her invent brand new magic spells. She gets new ideas at random moments and forces him to pull all-nighters to make them a reality. Lloyd can't handle the stress, and one night, he decides to run away from home to finally see the world. The next morning, Merlin finds his empty room with just the city magazine left behind, and she realizes her little boy is finally in his rebellious phase. Meanwhile, Lloyd reaches the city and is blown away by all the action. He spends his little bit of money on food and starts wondering how to earn more. Right when a recruitment notice for an adventuring party smacks him in the face, he decides to try becoming an adventurer, not noticing that someone is already watching him. He joins the party, and his very first mission is to fight a Cyclops. Lloyd is just thrilled, because he's never seen a real monster fight before. The Cyclops is pushing back the party leader, Alan, who yells for a healing spell. Lloyd decides to help, and instantly casts a support buff on all his party members, but he does it so fast that none of them even realize it. The party's archer fires an arrow that blinds the monster. As it swings wildly, the tanker, Rena, steps in to block the attack. She's completely shocked because she feels almost no weight behind the monster's punch, having no idea it's because of Lloyd's buff. The party's mage binds the Cyclops, giving Alan the opening to finish it with one slash. Because of this, Alan becomes a star overnight, and people start calling him a hero. Lloyd, on the other hand, gets completely ignored and is paid only loose change because he's just a dank white mage. He just accepts the tiny amount because he genuinely thinks that's all he's worth. When Alan wants to toast their success, Lloyd quickly makes an excuse to leave, saying he doesn't drink. The girls in the party are pissed that he snubbed Alan, but Alan doesn't really care. He tells them he doesn't even consider Lloyd a real party member, saying all white mages are useless and they only have one to meet guild rules. Rena, the tanker, however, thinks there's something going on that no one is noticing, and she's very curious about Lloyd. Meanwhile, that guy, who was watching Lloyd, turns out to be an informant for Merlin, giving her constant updates on her student. Merlin says she's not worried about Lloyd, as long as he doesn't get arrogant. The spy then asks if she regrets her past, and Merlin recalls the day she fought the Demon Lord with her original party, led by the hero Sybil. The Demon Lord, knowing he couldn't win, decided to self-destruct, taking an entire city with him. Hero Sybil used powerful ancient magic to revive all the people who died, but the spell cost him his own life. Losing Sybil was a massive blow for Merlin. She admits she only adopted Lloyd as a coping mechanism and never imagined he would also be a chosen one. Just like Sybil, she swears she will never repeat her mistakes and will do anything to keep Lloyd safe from that same fate. Back in the city, Alan becomes a huge celebrity by defeating strong monsters, all thanks to Lloyd's invisible support. Of course, nobody notices this except for Rena, who only has a vague suspicion. One night, soldiers ask Alan's party to defeat some golems that are killing troops near a patrol point. Alan immediately accepts, thinking it'll be another easy win. He takes his party to the spot, and Lloyd uses his magic search to find that the golems are hidden inside a waterfall. Once inside, Alan starts fighting, but a summoner just keeps creating new golems every time he smashes one. Lloyd spots the summoner using a magic stone and quickly buffs the archer, telling her to shoot the summoner. She fires, and her arrow miraculously curves around a pillar to hit the summoner right in the chest. Lloyd then orders the wizard to teleport the magic staff to him, and he instantly seals its power. This does not sit well with Alan, who thinks he's the only one allowed to give orders. He decides to ignore the summoner and focus on the main golem, but Lloyd warns him to back off, because the golem is out of control now that its master is gone. Alan ignores him and charges in anyway. Lloyd has to use a special magic spell to catch up and save Alan from being crushed. Alan gets furious at him, and just then, the golem powers down, giving him the chance to destroy it. The second the mission is over, Alan fires Lloyd, telling him he's useless, and always hides in the back. Lloyd, who has been gaslighted this whole time into believing he's weak, accepts the decision without even arguing. Lloyd tries searching for another party, but there are no vacancies, and he starts to feel hopeless. Luckily, right at that moment, a girl is at the front desk urgently looking for a free, white mage. The receptionist tells her it's hard to find someone who meets her conditions, but with no other choice, she points straight at Lloyd. The pink-haired girl confirms he's an unemployed white mage and immediately grabs him and drags him along with her. It turns out this girl, Yui, is a member of an S-rank adventuring party. She drags Lloyd to their base, where her party members are shocked she actually found a white mage, as they were sure she'd fail. Yui starts introducing Lloyd to everyone, but then realizes she doesn't even know his name. She introduces her party: Daugus the shield user, Cross the archer, and Silica the mage. Finally, she introduces herself as the swordsman and party leader, welcoming Lloyd to the team. Lloyd finally gets a word in and asks her when exactly he agreed to join. Yui is stunned, realizing she was so eager she forgot to actually ask him. Daugus and Silica apologize to Lloyd for their leader's behavior. They then tell Yui that even if she found a new white mage, he can't replace their old one, Clum, and they should just give up on their current quest. Yui gets upset, saying their client needs help and they can't just turn them down. Lloyd asks why another party can't take the quest, and Daugus explains it's an A-rank mission. Only parties ranked A or higher can accept it, but all the other high-rank parties are out of town. As an S-rank party, they are the only ones left who can do it. Lloyd is completely shocked to be standing in front of S-rank adventurers and really wants to help them. But once again, his crippling low self-esteem, drilled into him by Merlin, makes him believe he's far too weak to be of any use. However, Yui suddenly speaks up for him, telling her party they should at least give Lloyd a chance to prove his skills before writing him off. She takes him to the woods to show them what he can do, which just makes Lloyd nervous, as he's sure he's going to disappoint everyone. Yui tells him to do something, and Dagas points out that the newbie looks confused, and she should at least tell him what spell to cast. So Yui asks Lloyd to cast an enchantment buff on all of them. Cross and Silica immediately think this is impossible, as only the most skilled white mages can cast a group enchantment. Lloyd, however, is just shocked. After they hyped up the job as being so difficult, Yui just asked him to cast a very basic, simple spell. He asks her if she's sure this is the test, and she says yes. The other party members tell Lloyd he doesn't need to pretend if he can't do it, because they know how hard it is. Lloyd tells them he'll do it. He calmly summons his staff from a dimensional storage, which is already enough to shock everyone. He then instantly casts 5 different enchantment spells on all of them at once. It happens so fast they don't even realize he's done it. Yui asks him where the staff came from, and he explains his storage spell. He then asks if the enchantment is good enough, but Yui is just confused, because he didn't use an incantation and it was too fast. Suddenly everyone starts feeling lighter and stronger as the spells kick in. To test it, Yui takes a gentle swing at a huge tree and cuts right through it, leaving the entire party speechless. Lloyd explains that he cast 5 different buffs on them, because he thought casting just one was way too simple to be the real test. So he tried to show them what he could actually do. Yui and the others are too stunned to speak, which Lloyd completely misinterprets as disappointment. He puts his staff away, apologizes for wasting their time, and says he understands. He's not fit to be their white mage. As he walks away, Yui stops him and finally asks about his past work experience. Lloyd shocks them all again by revealing he was fired from the heroes' party for being too weak. Yui and her team are baffled, wondering what kind of insane standards the hero has if he thinks Lloyd is weak, since they've never seen anyone cast 5 group enchantments at once. When Lloyd keeps insisting he's weak, Cross starts to worry more about Lloyd's standards than their own. Lloyd changes the subject and asks why they don't just call their original white mage, Clum, back. Yui explains that Clum's sister is very sick, and Clum was trying to take care of her, while also working as an adventurer. The stress of doing both finally became too much, and she had to resign to look after her sister. Dagas adds that while they can handle most quests without a white mage, A-rank quests are too difficult to do without one. The party gets worried about Clum, because she's still their friend, which makes Lloyd feel a bit jealous. He quickly asks what disease Clum's sister has. Yui tells him the girl's body is slowly turning into magistone. This clicks for Lloyd. He remembers Merlin teaching him about magistones and how they can turn living things into magistone. Lloyd had wondered back then if it was possible to reverse it, and now he decides to find out. He immediately asks Yui to take him to Clum's house. Yui agrees and takes him straight to Clum's house. A very tired and thin Clum opens the door, surprised to see her friend. Once they're inside, Lloyd gets right to work. He asks Clum to explain her sister's condition in detail. Clum says that she and her sister Sylvie used to be adventurers together, but one day Sylvie got injured on a mission, and she's been sick ever since. Lloyd asks for the symptoms, but Clum decides to just show him. The moment she opens the door to Sylvie's room, a powerful malicious mana leaks out. Clum pulls back the blanket, revealing that her sister's hands and legs have already turned into magistone. She explains that Sylvie's mana has gone berserk, and her condition is only getting worse, fearing she doesn't have much time left. Lloyd immediately tells her he has a theory and thinks he can turn Sylvie back to normal. Clum refuses to believe him, saying that even specialist healers told her it was impossible to cure. But Lloyd explains his theory. Sylvie must have been injured by a high-purity magistone, which started turning her body into magistone too. He asks if Sylvie was hurt in a place with high mana density. Clum confirms it, saying they were on a mission to get a magistone from a cave. Lloyd asks to see the entry wound, and when Clum shows him Sylvie's waist, which has also turned to stone, Lloyd is certain he's right. Yui begs Clum to trust Lloyd, and she finally agrees to give him a chance. Lloyd immediately casts a spell to absorb all the corrupted mana from Sylvie's body, which is incredibly difficult for him to handle. He manages to get through the first step, explaining to Clum that he had to drain Sylvie's mana to near zero, or the healing would be pointless. He then says he will continue absorbing her mana while healing her at the same time, and casts a second spell to start the healing. Clum realizes this isn't a normal healing spell. Lloyd tells her it's a more powerful version he made. It's highly inefficient, but it lets him burn the corrupted mana he's absorbing from Sylvie. Clum is left completely speechless. Yui asks if Lloyd is doing something impressive, and Clum explains that he is casting 2 self-made spells at the same time, all while enduring a massive amount of corrupt mana. She says that both of these things should be impossible, even for the greatest white mages in the world. Soon Lloyd's method works. Sylvie's petrified body begins to turn back to normal. A moment later, Sylvie regains consciousness, and Clum starts crying tears of joy. Later, Clum tells Yui and Lloyd that once her sister fully recovers, they'll go on adventures together again, and she officially asks Lloyd to support her party in her place.